all of your faces today. As you know, it is my day of birth, and I am a very much a birthday person. Having a Christmas birthday, we don't, we got to make this thing happen. So at an early age, since World on Wheels in the fourth grade, we've been doing this thing, and it's just been a blessing. It's been the very nearest and dearest thing to my heart. So all of you who are here, you know that. And I'm just grateful that you took this time. I know it's some football games on because I could hear one in the background. So you chose to spend it with me, and I'm so happy. As you may know, this is a passion of mine. Purpose Conversations was birthed just through, this year has been a very trying year. But one thing that has come of this is, the light has been sparked in terms of me engaging, having conversations, getting into some good dialogue, talking about things that matter. And so that's why we're here today. This is the absolute one thing that I wanted today. And so I'm so grateful. And the reason why you guys are here, I have two special guests that were very intentionally placed on this particular episode because, one, they both know how important my birthday is. And I think after my last Purpose Conversations, it was just like the inspiration dropped. And I immediately told them these two men in my life have had a very pivotal role and been very instrumental in making me who I am. And, me and Ely like to use the term spooky deep. And so I can get spooky deep on y'all and tell you that, everybody, I believe on your birthday, you should reflect. You should really think about, how you want to start off your personal new year. And so I wanted my two brothers to join me today, and I will introduce them both. Starting off with my boy E, because at Clark Atlanta University, we had this this brother and sister matching where it was a ceremony, and all the guys in the guy dorm had to line up, and all the girls in the girl dorm lined up. And so we all had our role, and we rolled up. No one knew who they were going to get matched up with. And I had a good friend of mine who had a crush on Ely. So thank God, let's give a shout out to my friend, because she pulled me to the back of the line and we ended up getting matched up as brother and sister. So God's divine plan was in order 24 years ago. Ely is amazing. E, tell the people who you are and what you do. I'm going to kick it off to you and have you introduce yourself to the people. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let's hear you, brother. Tell the folks who you are.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ely. I'm coming from North Carolina. I met Rhea at Clark Atlanta University in 1996. Ashley said, at HBCU, the ratios are what they are. So it was kind of two sisters to a brother. And I walked out, and she was my Bumstead Ware Hall sister. And the other one was Khalida. And Rhea was Platonic and Khalida was not. It's what it is. I'm wishing her, Khalida, the best. I hope she's doing great things. But I'm just glad to be a part of this.
Absolutely. I'm honored that you would be here. You are, my ace. I'm so grateful. This means a lot to me. And so as God would have it, the years kept rolling and all of that rearing, which we'll talk about, just the influences that you guys have both had on my life. But about 7 years down the line, the Lord saw fit for me to be aligned with another joker that, had an impression. For those of you who don't know me, I guess I should have prefaced this. Purpose Conversations for me is like real talk. So there is no, there's a little bit of a format and I have questions, but the essence of who I am is just to be myself. And so, with that, because it's my birthday and we're reflecting, we're going down this journey, I'll share. I had a crazy story where I ended up in the hospital one night. Kelvin Truitt, who's this amazing young man I'm about to introduce, he hosted a First Fridays every month, and he still does to this day. And so I was honored to be there for the first inaugural one years ago. We became friends, as I mentioned, about 17 years ago. And after First Friday, I used to work the little candy booth, for those who wanted their snacks, because I'm all about the snacks, another re-effect. And, went home, we went to Denny's, kicked it. It was a perfect night. And then at the end of the night, I, drank too much water. And the next morning, it was just a big thing. So all of that to say, Kelvin, when I was hospitalized, and during that time, many of you that were on this call were there. And that was a time in my life that was really, we still don't know to this day. I mean, I think my sodium got too low, but during that week, Kelvin was there was many friends that are on here that were there every single day. And Kelvin wrote me a letter. And I remember that. And I remember when we met as a group, because as we know, men and women, you go to a barbecue, you kick it. You know, some people gel, some people don't, some people trying to holler, some people are not. But we just gelled from the very first minute. And from that point, it was just like an instant kindred spirit in the same way, like Ely. And he wrote me a letter that really touched my heart, Kel. And I just want to say thank you. I want to introduce this amazing I build, I dad, I create. This guy is everything you can imagine. He's been my pastor. He's been my brother. He's been one of my best friends. And I just love you so much, Kel. I want you to tell the people who you are. And I want to welcome you to Purpose Conversations Volume 3.
Yo, well, thank you so much for having me. And I see a lot of familiar faces. And I just want to say it's good to see y'all, like actually seeing y'all face. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of y'all social media handles. And as Ria explained earlier, we've been friends for about 17 years. And similar to Ely, there was two women that I met at the same time. One of them was Platonic and the other one was not. So I met Ria, and I'm gonna call her name Mia on the same day. And I was all about trying to get to know her a little bit better and see if we can land ourselves at a nice seafood dinner. But through it all, man, I'm so grateful for the friendship that I had with Ria. And when I came into the hospital room, I felt like I did not deserve to be there, being that there was years and years, decades of friendship, in fact, that was there. And so it was the Lord put it on my heart. I was moved to write because we didn't know if Ria was going to make it. You know what I'm saying? So I was moved to write just to get my expression of gratitude out. But she did make it. And so she received that letter, and that's kind of what gave birth to the tone of our friendship for many more years. So now she is, when I had children, she became their godmother, one of the most reliable. She's my swag consultant. You know, she'll let you know how it's supposed to look and remind you how it ain't. You know what I'm saying? So she's endeared anybody that I've ever loved, that I've ever called friend, that I've ever had contact with my life. When they came in contact with Ria, it instantly became family. A lot of the friendships and things on this call, the epicenter was what God did with Ria and I's friendship. So I'm grateful to be here in purpose on your birthday. So happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I am just glad that you spoke to that, because that's exactly why I want to, kind of just set the tone for the conversation. Just so you guys know, I want this to be interactive. We do have some questions, and I'm going to jump right into them because you guys took the time to register. And come on. Thank you, Kim. That's what I like. We go on the spot here. So we got about 64% that believes that, purely platonic male and female relationships are possible. And we got about 36 that say maybe it depends. I'd love to hear what that it depends on. But I think that's great just to kind of see where we are in the chat room. What do you guys think? I think, well, let me just tell you this before I dive in, because I like to go in order, but I also like to flow with the spirit. So for those of you who are on here, I want to go through our poll questions, but I also have questions. So as I ask them, you guys can raise, let me see if I can see the reactions. I might need your help. I'm going to keep my chat open so I can see. And then feel free to raise your hand, or how you guys have the little raise your hand feature on Zoom. I can see that. So I would love to hear from you if there is something you want to add to our discussion. I'm going to go through that. And at the end, we'll allow you guys to, ask any questions of my guys. I know one of the things that I wanted to do when having these conversations, as we know, men and women think very different. And I know these two brothers here are very wise. And as I mentioned in my not so refined days, because God is still working on me, they both poured into me in so many different ways. And so I really wanted to bring that to life and share that, because that is something that I've treasured. And a lot of you, Kelvin spoke to some of the relationships that have been connected through our friendship. And I know for sure I would not be who I am. I wouldn't think the way I am. I just would not, because who Ely knew is still here. But I have to tell you, she was 10 times even more gangster. So I'm just thankful that you guys are working with me and, we walking this thing out. So for the audience, if you guys want to engage, please do. So the first question that came up was, how did you navigate your male relationships as a single woman and then now as a married woman? And so I'm actually going to answer that. And I want to hear from both my guys, because the reason why I get inspired to talk about stuff like this is when I hear people make kind of blanket statements like, oh, this ain't possible, or oh, this don't exist. You know, I love to jump on that, mostly because obviously I don't believe it. But one thing that I know as a single woman, and this, I'll go back, this is a story really with Ely. I just remember, as you both have mentioned, I kind of became the friend by default because clearly there was a romantic interest, you know, involved through other young ladies. So we're going to give a shout out to those ladies right now, because I think God still, for me, I will say, the way I navigated as a single woman is in fact different. And I remember, you know, through dating, which we'll talk a little bit about, but through both of these brothers dating and me dating, I do think that as a single woman, you do have to have some kind, you know, obviously friendship to me is a gift from God. It's not something that everybody is blessed with. And when I say that, it's like you have to be able to take it and, you know, let the friendship be what it is. And I think with both of you guys, what has blessed me is it just never wasn't, it just wasn't an effort. It was just effortless. And I think with when being married though, and stepping into, you know, where either party gets married, I definitely had to learn or how to exercise boundaries. And so I'll tell a story about when Ely first met his wife. I remember very clearly, he wanted me to meet her. He told me like, hey sis, I need you to come to North Carolina. And he had a dinner. I don't remember, now you might have to help me. I don't know if it was at like Outback Steakhouse or something. And I remember my thought as a single woman, Rhea, when you're dating a male friend, I mean, when you have a male friend who's dating, my first thought was like, okay, I respect, you know, boundaries. And so this is my feedback, I guess, on that question. As a single woman, when the guy that you're friends with is dating someone, I came to Outback. It was all of, you know, Ely's friends and stuff. And the first thing that I thought about was like, well, when you meet, you know, your boy, your brother's spouse or friend or whatever, I don't need to be all front street with every inside joke, you know, like I was just mindful of the fact that this is a woman that he's bringing into his life. And so I remember consciously saying like I want, this is about you and her, this is about you guys' time. So I will say, when folks are single, I don't think that you have to necessarily think with those types of things, but I do know that for you guys, like in relationship where you know it's going somewhere, I think that as the single friend, you do have to have some kind of boundary. So I don't know if you remember that, E, but what do you guys think, or how do you guys navigate from being single and being married and having a platonic friend?
So I think having gone through that juncture in every phase of friendship as a single man who had this friend, and just so all the fellas are aware that I'm not blind, right? I know that my homegirl is very beautiful, right? And so it took a while for the friendship to be believable. So at the time when I was seriously dating, I knew that it was important for my lady to have that level of comfort, to know that she is who I want, not Rhea, right? And so there was a season of fallback on my side to say, man, let me kind of fall back. I expressed it to my friend. I said, Rhea, you know, it's really important to me that you guys have y'all kind of have your own thing, because if I am going to choose, I'm going to choose the woman who I feel like God ordained for me to be with. I can't, you know, a friendship is a friendship. Covenant is a covenant. So for me, it was kind of clear cut and dry. And I thank God that there was many years where they were closer than Rhea and I were, because I felt like I really wanted God to bless it. And I've had a lot of funny business in my life, a lot of it, right? And so for the one time that I didn't have no funny business, I'm like, nah, let's go, you know, we're gonna honor this. And so that's the route that I took. I took kind of the fall back and let y'all get cool, and then re-enter. And then throughout, you know, there was different spaces where I felt like, okay, my friendship, Rhea is the barometer. Like, so just like a measure of, hey, what you're deserving of, how you need to be talked to, you know, as a friend should. And then kind of in the thick of the relationship, I had to be reminded at times through action, just like straight up and down, like this is what you're experiencing and this is what's available to you. And so I did allow the friendship to kind of guide me and keep me level-headed. But if I'm going to, or, you know, the place in my heart, if I'm going to choose, I'm always going to choose covenant over anything that I choose. So So it was a friendship that was, this friendship was the Isaac in my life. It was willing to be sacrificed and just be like, if I don't holler at you ever again, then,
Yeah.
thank God for that season. So
I'm glad you said that, because you know what? The truth is you got to make sacrifices. And I think that's something that people don't talk about. It's like if you have a solid friendship and it's standing on some solid ground, then you do whatever you got to do. Because at the end of the day, you guys' life and your covenants and your commitments matters, to me. So I'm like, I'm not, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I think when you're on the friend side, you don't need, some people want to hog up all your, your attention, your love, like that's my guy. And I just think that that's something on both man and women's side. It's like you have to do what you have to do. If that means put a little space in between, if that means let you navigate through, and you guys have both done that for me as well. So I'm glad that you spoke to that. Me texting, I could think both of you guys, we'd be kicking it all, extra late and just doing things. You just make adjustments. And I think anyone who might be struggling or wondering like how to navigate through the two, you just have to learn how to put up boundaries and, and respect for what your boy or what your girl's doing. E, what do you feel about that or have to say about it?
Well, I mean, for me, obviously I believe in platonic friendships because I have 3 of them. But if I were answering the poll question, I would say it depends. And I say that because it really depends who your lady is and I mean, who you decide to spend the rest of your life with. Rhea, you knew all my girlfriends and we never had a problem. Like I would start up front, like, listen, this is my sister. I would talk about you. I would introduce them to you if they didn't already know you because we were all on campus together. And it was never any pushback except that one that we laugh about. And that dynamic was just off from the start. But it was never any problem. So I created a formula. This is, you get in there early, you tell them about Rhea, they meet her, they see her personality, they develop trust, and over time, it's all love. I didn't marry the type of woman I dated. I always dated the sisters, but I married a New York, and we've 19 years happily married, but I married a New York, round the way, got a natural sister. And, she is a product of past relationships and circumstances and situations. And she could trust me. She could trust Rhea, but the way she was raised, that platonic stuff, she wasn't trying to hear that. There's no way, get out of here with that. Whatever. I'm not trying to hear it. And I had to respect that this is how, I was 24, she was 26, 26 years of interactions with guys. This is what she believed in. So I think the key was, one, respect. I had to respect her, respect, the way she came up. Time, never giving her a reason to distrust me. Rhea, respecting the relationship. And it takes a lot of work. My approach was, Rhea is like a blood sister. She's been a friend. I wanted her to be around for a lifetime. But it takes a lot of work. So my maybe is, if you're not willing to put in the time and the work to make a platonic friendship a reality, then it's probably unrealistic. And the key for me is, if it's God's will. I got saved in 97 and got serious about God in 97. So if it's God's will, it'll work out. If it's not God's will, even if it's purely platonic and never, nothing else ever happened, it could be for a season, and that season could end and you move on to the rest of your life. And you just have to have that type of approach. And it's going to be extremely rare that you find someone 25 years and y'all still closer than close and you have a happy marriage.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that, I kind of was prepping and thinking before we got on the call, and I'm like, what do you think the secret, I'll ask both of you guys that is, because I find that the older we get, I didn't ask you guys to tell the folks how old you are, but I'm proud, a proud 42-year-old today. And I realized that the older we get, it feels like it's harder. Like people either don't value the sanctity, hey, shout out, the sanctity of friendship. But what do you think the secret is, like in terms of keeping, especially through being married and going through those seasons? What do you think the secret is?
I'll start with this one, Kelvin. I think the key, seriously, y'all, I think the key is you got to stay in your lane. I look at it like a traditional wedding. Like, the traditional wedding, the father walks down the aisle with the bride. He steps aside. He gives the bride to the groom and he walks away. Goes and sits with his family, and that's it. So if you are a daddy's girl, I mean, the relationship adjusts when you get married. If you are a mama's boy and your mom is always in your business, that's gonna wreck your marriage if mom don't stay in her lane and step aside. Same thing for the platonic friend. You have a lot of power as the platonic friend.
Yeah.
You've been the go-to person for years.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Rhea, when you and Andre got married, I didn't call you until you called me. I mean, I feel like you're someone that's been single, or you've been in your position for 20, 30, 40 years. Yeah. Your spouse, 20, 30, 40 years, you're trying to come together and be one. If people are not respecting that process, then you can mess things up. And it's key to me for a platonic friendship to work, for everyone to understand that you stay in your lane. And if you do that, then it has possible thriving potential. And it's still a possible.
Good. I'm glad you said that. I love it.
I think that was very well put, Ely. Just like staying in your lane. The side I'll speak to is the age piece, right? Where the older we get, the more seasoned we are. We learn that high quality and less volume is important. Where I remember, it was probably a season of our life where we talked or kicked it every day.
Yeah.
Every day, right? And as we get older, man, it's like, number one, Rhea's married. So to be a friend of Rhea is to be a friend of the union.
Yeah.
You understand? And I think that when you posture yourself towards the union, like Ely was saying, like, this is a married unit now, and so trying to, as the platonic friend, trying to balance that out, trying to even up those text messages to where, some stuff I'm gonna hit Andre on. Me and Andre have our own relationship outside of Rhea, because that's the standard that's possible. Andre friends are my friends. I asked him about his homeboys because it's like, that's important to Andre. So a happy Andre means that my sister's home is happier, right? And so as age goes on, as we get older, I just feel like, man, to have really potent time of development is all you need. If I talk about 2018, toughest year of my life, and I had 4 days. We have mutual friends in St. Louis, another platonic friend, and his wife in St. Louis, and we all met up out there. And for those 4 days, I swear I got what I needed for the year, and all of 19, pretty much rolled out on the residue of what took place on that St. Louis trip. So I realized, as a grown man, I don't need to be texting my homegirl every day. Don't need to be talking to her every day, especially as I try to navigate my own relationships. And I've had some relational changes that I really did need strengthening on, as I went through those changes. I called Rhea for some things. And then other things, it was like, she got a full husband. And when I put my burden onto her, I'm dishonoring the union, because I don't want to be, it don't always got to be sexual to be the other man. You know what I'm saying? You could be the other man emotionally. You could be the other man requiring so much attention, or the doing too much. I think it was Puff Daddy said, these cats be coming around like they Mr. Friendly, and then they steal the spotlight like they Mr. Bentley. Basically, sit your A down. You don't got no business doing the most, being the most thoughtful. I just wanted to tell you, have a great meeting. No, sit your A down. You got a full husband that can pray for her over her meeting. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm speaking with a little bit of intensity, but that just is what it is. So I think, man, getting the quality that you need and less value, man. You don't need to be kicking it every day, in my personal opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, because, I am the friend that will tell you to have a great meeting. So I'll balance it, because, I know me, but you got to be me. So if you are have a great meeting, I appreciate that text. That don't mean nothing wrong with it. My husband is thinking about the Lakers. You understand me? He mean it in his heart, but he may not be.
His balance.
He may not send that. I'm just kidding. No, I love him. He's always cheering me on. He gave me you could do this pep talk before this. So I appreciate that you said that. That's really good. But one of the reason why I even asked, or why I think this was asked, is just because when I think about, truthfully, and I wanted to talk about this very thing, because a lot of women, I feel like the ratio for us women being single, and obviously with for us coming from Atlanta and then moving out here, I feel like both LA and Atlanta are just not the place to necessarily have, get married as young as you guys both did. But what I could say that both of you have given me, and seriously, and I think Andre should probably come in and thank you for, is just the perspective of, I will never forget, and I'll share this because this is funny. But when we were in college, and college life is obviously the kind of coming of age and where you get to cultivate like who you are and you meet your lifelong friends and all of that. And I remember there was a season when I was just like cussing up a storm, just being real, just not really mindful, of how I just wasn't really mature yet. I was just doing my thing. And I just will never forget, this brother Ely was the very person that stands out in my mind, like who would used to be like, yo, sis, that's not a good look, or like, hey, like, I'm not going to air my business out too bad unless we get into it. But I just remember that night. And I'm like, the fact that we were coming out of this club for some reason, he don't club, but it was like some event. And I just remember him telling me like, hey sis, like, it's not a good look. And that literally changed, like, he saw me through every Black History moment. That's what I call my exes in situations. Every Black History moment was there. He was there. Just much the same as you, Kel. I just think that what our friendship has meant to me, and not having, getting married until 39 years old, I think it was just tough to get that male perspective and to have that covering, as Kel, we talk about a lot. So I just want to thank you both for that, because I think that that's something that, for me, the reason why I believe in it is you don't always, marriage is not for everyone. Dating looks different for everyone. And I just think that, it's a blessing to be able to have that love and that true connection to where you can tell a friend, hey, that's not the way to go. And I think both of you have done that for me in so many ways. So I want to go to one of the other questions that came up. And that was, is it possible to start off as friends without that initial curiosity? So I know that you both, I think we kind of touched on that a little bit, but I know, Ely, you said you have 3. Kel, I don't know how many platonic friendships you really have or carry, or as you mentioned earlier, that you pour into like that. But do you think that it's possible to start off without that initial curiosity?
I think it's possible. Again, as I said, I have 3 platonic friends, but I do think that I'm just I try to be a pragmatic, realistic guy. And we all know, you can tell. And if you don't know, eventually the truth will reveal itself. And I think a lot of times we try to act like, oh no, it's just platonic. When in reality, you just kind of put her in the friend zone, or she just kind of puts you in the friend zone. If you were given an opportunity, you would take it there. So it just goes back to, it's extremely rare for 2 attractive people to not have that connection after a certain age. And you just have to respect that at all times. Rhea and I joke about, and while I say you'll always know, we joke about one friend that was platonic and there were no signs, nothing. And then one night in the dorm room, she hit me with are you ever confused? Do you ever like? I was like, no, I'm never confused. I never wonder. And that was the opportunity. You can tell by the way y'all interact. If I hug someone in church, it's strong up top. It's all right up in here. But if you look on the side, it's like a Christmas.
I think that's called choking somebody.
But if you hug a family member, it's a little bit closer. Like if I hug one of my loving aunts, it's a little bit closer if you look from the side. But if your friend is hugging you and there's like a pelvic thrust, it's not platonic. It's not platonic. And I feel like people's body language, their interactions, eventually it'll always reveal, what it is. And you should call it that, because I feel like in marriage, you can rationalize and try to explain something that good and well is inappropriate. And those are the type of relationships that could come back and bite you. And you won't be 10, 15, 20 years down the road with a happy marriage. And as Kelvin said, covenant is key. Keeper to keeper. You don't want to mess that up.